This is amazing, Commander. You cleared out most of Germany, and now you've got the invaders on the run. So let's keep the pressure on. The invaders have massed on the edge of Berne, Switzerland. We don't know why, but looks like a last stand to me. If they want to fight, I say give them everything we got. Let's send those alien bastards back to the red zone with their tails between their legs.
What's the status?
Building. Enemy unit sighted. Incoming transmission. This central and main base is the aliens' last stronghold in the region. Destroy it.
Welcome back, Commander. We have a longer mission today, and we're going to see why shortly.
Construction complete.
Sniper team ready.
The fact of the matter is that since we're getting later and later into the campaign, well, the AI just happens to throw a lot more at you, so you have to be ready for everything it's going to pull.
Move out, Armor Division. What's the call? On the move. Need somebody taken out? Let's get there.
Construction
One of the major things to point out is that you're definitely going to want to focus a lot on defense. Make sure that you can't really be penetrated in any way, shape, or form, and then take the fight to them.
Unit under attack. Construction complete. Building. Building.
Now, surprisingly, I didn't have to play this mission all too many times,
Construction complete.
mostly because at a certain point you manage to get a stalemate, and if you do things properly, you'll be able to essentially shut down anything that the AI throws at you.
Building.
It's not quite levels of Nod with Avatar Walker's galore,
What's the hold up?
Construction.
but it can still be annoying in its own right.
Juggernaut. I'm the Juggernaut.
Now, the first time I played this, I had a far more passive approach,
What do you see?
just in terms of moving and setting up my initial base. There's also a few things that you want to focus on first, rather than what I had done.
Predator crew ready to roll.
As always, getting an extra crane is beneficial and something you should tend to focus on,
Construction.
especially if you're playing single player.
Under attack.
Fire
Select
in the
target.
sky.
I figured if I could get some units, specifically snipers, to roam around,
Construction options. Building.
get some visibility on enemy bases, and then try to take them out that way, it might be helpful. Sadly, Juggernaut damage
Reload.
at long range isn't all that great. 2 Juggernauts don't even destroy one of these main, quote-unquote, main buildings. Granted, they can repair and all that, but it's just not all that great.
Unit sighted. Unit under
Coupled with the fact that Juggernauts are expensive, slow, can't target air units, and are fragile for how much they cost, it's just hard to really value them, in my opinion. I would much prefer having Juggernauts of a bygone era. Another thing to mention is that you're going to want to get some Firehawks. I never thought I'd actually ever build any, but as some people have stated in the thread, one of the Skrin's major focuses is just a beefier air army, or air arsenal. We also see the first instance of the Skrin Commando. It's called the Mastermind. Essentially what it does is, well, actually the name kind of implies a lot from Red Alert 2. Similar to a Yuri Mastermind. Now the difference being that they seem to only be able to control one thing, and that thing can be a building or a unit. When targeting infantry, obviously that's more of the entire squad, which, depending on how you feel about that, can be kind of cheap for them to be able to do.
Our base is under attack. Construction complete.
As you might also gather, the Mastermind is an infantry unit and kind of vulnerable to anti-infantry things. Or at least in my experience, that's what it was. Shooting at them with sonic emitters didn't do too much damage, Neither did the the Guardian cannons. Now, 4 Firehawks is probably a little overkill for what you're generally going to find yourself against. Specifically, like the planetary assault carriers or whatever they're called. But we will need at least 4 and some extra help, really, for a later thing.
Unit under attack.
I should probably mention that while having sonic emitters is nice, it is really beneficial for the game to just start you off with a bunch of Guardian cannons as well. Sonic emitters are great and all, but they just sometimes don't perfectly kill an enemy unit. And as well, when units are moving around, it's possible that the sonic emitter just happens to miss, or not do full damage. So having an extra Guardian cannon or 2 around to sort of finish it off or fill in the gaps is pretty beneficial. I should probably also mention that having Guardian cannons, having Firehawks is nice, but you kind of need to baby them a little too much. I've found myself having to target units, and sometimes the Firehawks that don't kill it or don't run out of ammo will just sort of sit in the area, ready to be shot at and cost you like 1,500 credits.
Enemy units sighted. Our base is under attack.
Now, by the time that you have, say, like 6 sonic emitters,
Unit under attack.
with a somewhat heavier focus on the right side rather than the north of your base,
What do you need?
you should be able to start
Lost.
purchasing some of the more expensive upper tier units. Specifically in this case, I'm going to be focusing a lot on mammoth tanks. There's 2 major benefits to this, or for this. The first is that the Skrin are sending a lot of units straight at my base, and they're taking a lot of damage, and I don't really have much to worry about in reverse.
Unit
Similarly, because the mammoth tank is, well, the mammoth tank, it's able to hit ground and air targets, and due to that, I don't really have much to worry about when it comes to getting experience. And the more experience I can get for free, because these units just kind of stream in, means that I can get to general level, and if I can get that level of expertise from them, they'll be able to auto-heal, which is just a lot less to worry about and micro.
Mammoth tank.
Unit under attack.
Armor superiority.
Something I never really brought up as well is that there's kind of an extra bonus to getting some of the unit upgrades that we see.
Let's get to the front.
And the reason is because, as mentioned a long time ago by now, I'm sure,
Flatten.
vehicles gain experience based on the damage that they do. So if you upgrade their damage, they'll
Base is under attack.
experience, they'll level up, quote unquote, faster.
Let's get to the front. Ready here.
It's also just valuable to get the railgun upgrade at this point, especially since I'm going to be focusing on mammoth tanks.
Harvester under attack.
It's quite frustrating to have harvesters constantly be under attack, especially since our starting Tiberium fields, there's technically 2 of them, but
Superiority.
you're going to run out of those immediately. And so your harvesters are just constantly exposed, which is just frustrating. There's no good way to keep them repaired other than perhaps getting 2 battle rigs and sending them at the and specifically deploying them next to refineries. We also get to see a special ability that I hadn't realized that the Skrin units had, which is to essentially teleport. It's very similar to the jump packs you see for zone troopers or the commando, and yeah, just kind of a flavor thing, I guess we'll put it. So again, the problem is that my main group of mammoth tanks just aren't upgraded yet. They're not leveled up. So they can't heal, which means that I'd rather not lose, you know, $75,000. So let's just bring them all back and kind of waste a bit of time.
Rig packed up and ready.
Insufficient funds.
Roll it. Right. Yep.
I'm not quite sure what exactly does it, but it is a frustrating part of the defense of this map. When the, I guess we'll call it larger assault from the eastern side comes in, it's typically 1 or 2 tripods. And these tripods will, most of the time, half the time, I forget what the exact ratio is from when I played, but they will be shielded, and being shielded really makes them tougher to deal with. Obviously because it's a shield, but more specifically because I'm running out of cash all the time. Technically that's not anything new. But the issue is that the tripods with shields, sometimes, well, it feels like sometimes they shoot faster. And they can just deal with sonic emitters relatively easily.
Yes, sir. Unstoppable. Ready here.
It's the sort of thing that requires you to have to replace sonic emitters when they blow up, or having to essentially hyper-focus on having more defenses up, which consumes more power, etc., etc.
Mammoth tank. Mammoth tank ready.
I think another positive, at least, is that following a certain trend, the AI won't rebuild, or at least it never seemed to rebuild when I was playing. I don't know if it's because I just deleted stuff fast enough. But yeah, essentially it was just nice to not have to deal with it. For the longest time, again, just I took a little bit of a break from actually playing. I was thinking that the ion cannon needed to see its target, so whoops.
Unrivaled.
So technically there are 3 screen commanders or 3 screen bases on this map. One in the top left, the main one in the top right, and another one in the bottom right.
Our base is under attack.
The 2 in the corners that well, essentially are bonus objectives are themed, for lack of a better word. Now the top left one has seen. Oh, also, I forgot that little cutscene existed. Essentially, they talk about a mysterious building. It's called the Alien Transmitter. And there's a kind of a goofy thing about it. I'm not a fan, but essentially, you have bonus objectives in this mission, as you might expect. In this mission, the bonus objectives are to destroy the alien transmitter. If you don't destroy it, they'll summon the mothership. So, and you might expect that destroying the transmitter might have something to do with an intelligence briefing or whatnot. And it's not true. It's not linked to it, but it's just kind of frustrating that you can missing a bonus objective leads to another bonus objective. And that's kind of one of the only times that happens in this game, at least so far that I can think of. And the reason why I dislike it is because I now won't be able to get all secondary objectives completed. It's just locked out now. And yeah, I'm not really gonna worry about it too much, and hopefully neither will you.
But that's impossible. Tell that to the aliens.
Select target. Ion cannon activated.
So here I have my ion cannon that previously I was saving for quite a bit. I can destroy the signal transmitter. I don't get anything for it. I get confused. and then eventually I will check the objectives and see that I've failed one.
Intelligence data updated.
And I think perhaps what is most frustrating about the experience is that there's no timer. I thought if there was one, I certainly thought I looked at the right times, at the right places, and I never noticed it. So, if you don't have an ion cannon, I guess, after destroying the first base, then you can't destroy the alien transmitter fast enough. It's just not possible. I guess technically if you had 4 Firehawks and you did the whole, hyper speed transportation and then got lucky, who knows. There's also 2 Tiberium spikes on the map, but frankly speaking, by the time that you've cleared up the alien bases, you don't really need to get these because they're very far and out of the way, and the middle of the map has blue Tiberium, so you would just go for blue Tiberium. This isn't to say that, the extra bonus income wouldn't be appreciated at the end of the game or whatever, but it never really seems like it's worthwhile to go for. At this point, I just really wanted to make sure that I wasn't throwing myself into an impossible charge and lose a bunch of units that I couldn't afford to.
Mammoth tank. Going in. Yes, sir.
It's a bit strange to see just because it's not really the case for any other defensive structure. When you take out the large spikes, the ones that look like that are as tall as Obelisk to Light, for example, they have those clouds above them that shoot lightning. Those disappear, as we've seen, but I don't believe that there's any other defensive structure that acts that same way.
Mammoth tank close in. Going in. Yes, sir. What do you have?
Aside from being rushed all the time at the start of this mission, and for a good while anyways until you have your defenses set up, I have to say it is a nice juxtaposition between your start and end phase, where you don't have to essentially throw more than the kitchen sink at this problem. If you have enough units, if you have a generous enough amount of units, you can push through and you're not losing half of them to a carrier that suddenly appears out of nowhere, or that sort of thing.
Target. Enemy base sighted.
It just, I guess, at the end of the day, it just feels a little bit more fair compared to some of the other missions that I've had to play.
Enemy units
Get the hell off my planet, you alien scum!
accomplished.
The invaders appear less concerned with taking control of our cities than with constructing massive structures in the red zones. Any attempt to impede or even investigate this activity is met with shocking force. Here to shed some light on these enemy structures is Dr. Emil Ibrahim, research manager at GDI's Future Tech Lab. First of all, Dr. Ibrahim, congratulations on your escape from Munich.
Thank you, William. It was most harrowing.
I can only imagine. Now, what can you tell us about these strange red zone towers?
As with everything involving invaders, Tiberium is key. They utilize these green crystals in ways we cannot even imagine. We know, for instance, that Tiberium fuels their craft, their weapons, and we know these towers are made of a Tiberium composite material. What we don't know is the purpose of these towers. We have only theories.
Fascinating. Just what are those theories?
Could be Tiberium refineries, missile silos, even a planetary destruction system. We need to get closer. We don't have enough information.
Not so easy, is it?
Not so easy.
Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim. Whatever these structures are, I think it's safe to say they were not built for the benefit of mankind.